In this demo, we are going to create 3D documentation for a motor replacement procedure and publish it as an interactive 3D HTML5. In addition to 3D data, exported data may include other useful properties from Solid Edge, such as the model tree, configurations, metadata, PMI, model views, and exploded views. To begin our document, we will choose a template in Pages 3D. The software includes templates designed specifically for manufacturing documentation. Templates are included for print and interactive. In this demo, we are planning to publish interactive HTML5, so we'll start with this Work Instructions HD template. We'll then select the QSM file that we exported from Solid Edge. We now have a starting point for our documentation. Pages 3D includes both 3D tools and page design tools, so we can use the mouse to interact with the 3D view, and when Edit Page is enabled, we can modify the page layout. As we create our document, we will toggle Edit Page on and off often to complete various authoring tasks. Let's modify our first page to include some additional information. We will do this by creating an empty storyboard and adding illustrations to it. The first illustration will warn that the unit should be unplugged before proceeding. The illustration will capture the viewpoint render style and other attributes of the view. The software includes a library of images needed for manufacturing documentation. For this one, we are using an image markup for the warning indicator. The second illustration will indicate that the back panel should be removed before proceeding. With the viewpoint panel, we can select from a variety of industry standard 3D orientations, and then we will select the part to highlight it. We are making sure to provide useful names for each illustration so that they can be used as labels. For this illustration, we will use 3D markups, which can be drawn onto a 3D plane in the scene. This is easy and extremely useful for adding arrows relative to the 3D model or quickly drawing hardware that might not be modeled in 3D, like nuts and bolts. Displaying the storyboard panel reveals that we have created two illustrations. We can click on them to display them in the 3D view. However, this storyboard panel will not be available when we publish to HTML5, so we will need to add a clickable table to this page to allow the document viewer to interactively choose between the illustrations that we have created. The illustrations table can be easily dragged out onto the document page. We can then quickly test the interactive features of the table by turning off Edit Page. Now let's add a second page to this document. The Page Template pull-down lets us choose from various page layouts. Let's insert an instructions template. Exploded views form the foundation of an instruction set that includes animated parts. You can use an exploded view that was created in Solid Edge as a starting point, or create exploded views in Pages 3D. Each step of an exploded view is created by selecting a part and then moving, rotating, or scaling it. We can select multiple parts using the model tree or by holding down Control after selecting the first part. Additionally, you can type in specific distances or rotations instead of using the mouse. This template is preset to animate between illustrations using the interactive play bar at the top. Instead of manually creating each illustration, we will use the storyboard wizard to quickly create the illustrations based on the exploded view. The wizard will create an illustration for each step, hiding and showing parts as appropriate. Of course, we can edit each illustration as needed too. This instructions template is set up to display the name and description of an illustration as they are displayed in the 3D view. So we see that the name of the illustration has shown up in the top left corner of the page. We can add a description and it will display on the page as well. After adding names and descriptions to all illustrations, we get the desired result, an animated instruction that displays textual instructions as the text button is clicked. Text button. After adding names and descriptions to all illustrations, this page is complete. In preparation for our next page, we are creating a configuration of the motor and caddy. Like exploded views, we can use configurations from Solid Edge or create them in Pages 3D. Configurations are very useful for organizing large models or simplifying page creation using smart template technology. Now that we have created the configuration, we are ready to insert a new page based on it. In this case, the new motor configuration is used with a parts list template to insert the new page. When a configuration is selected, the new page will be based on that configuration. This streamlines the creation of new document pages since much of the work is done by the smart template technology. Here, the 3D view is limited to the configuration, and the parts list is already set up to reflect the subset of parts in the motor configuration. Also notice the bidirectional selection between the 3D view and the parts list. On this page, we are going to set up an interactive exploded view. This will provide a familiar exploded view and parts list layout, but with interactive features too. To do this, we must create a new exploded view. Again, we hold down Control to add additional parts to the current explode step. In some cases, it's easier to use the model tree to select the parts, especially for small parts that are difficult to select with the mouse. After creating the exploded view, we will create two illustrations, one capturing the exploded state and another that captures the collapsed state. We will create and save these to a new storyboard for better organization. The names of these illustrations are important because they will be used as the default label for the buttons that we will create next. Let's go back to Edit Page mode. Now we will create a pair of buttons on the document page that will allow the document viewer to animate between the exploded state and the collapsed state. Buttons can be created from images or shapes by assigning an action to them. This is simply a matter of opening up the Properties dialog, then selecting the desired action and picking its parameters. In this case, we will select Illustration Change and then set up the first button to recall the collapsed illustration. For the second button, we will copy the first button, position it on the page, and then assign it to the explode illustration. After switching Edit Page off, we can now click on the buttons to animate between the two illustrations. As a final step before publishing, we will add a table of contents in as the second page of the document. The table of contents is automatically generated based on the headings applied throughout the document. Pages 3D publishes to print, PDF, and HTML5 as can be seen after selecting the Publish ribbon. In this case, we will create an HTML5 document. Interactive 3D documentation published to HTML5 can be viewed on PCs, Macs, iOS, and Android devices using a modern browser. Since Powered by Share3D technology is based on industry standards and no plugins are required, this is a flexible way of adding 3D to your online documentation. While this demonstration focused on HTML, similar benefits can be realized with PDF or printed documentation. Overall, the Pages solution is a perfect fit for creating technical documentation of all kinds from your Solid Edge designs.